Isso aqui, oh, é pouquinho de Brasil, iaia.
Hi, I have many projects on the go, and I want to talk a little bit about this project that I'm in the middle of. So, this is the summer 2019 of Knit Scene magazine, and I love this scarf. This is made in cotton, but I don't want to wear cotton. I had some baby camel that my friend Rosalind bought us, and there was a lighter brown and this brown, and I had 1 pound of each, or half a pound of each, not a pound. And I had spun a 3-ply of my first baby camel yarn, and then I over dyed it yellow, and I got this beautiful caramel or whatever. It's gorgeous. So when I saw this yarn, I thought I wanted to do this shawl with this yarn. One of the problems is that they say they need 360 meters or 391 yards of the fiber to make the shawl, of each color to make the shawl. And I tried to check it. So I do have digital scale that is used for jewelry, and I cut 1 meter of yarn and I put it there, but because it's so light, it's not giving me a steady measurement. It's giving me 0.0005 or 0.0010, what would mean that I don't have enough yarn to do this, but I want to do it anyway, so I'll have to be creative. The thing here is that normally when they have there's a special scale to do that. I don't have it because that would give me a more precise amount of how many yards I would have per yard of yarn by the kilo, right? Like, so I have 205 grams of this. If I divide it by 0.0005, it would give me 410 yards, what would be enough. But if I divide it by more than that, it's not going to be enough. So you have to think that when you have hand spun, your yarn will be heavier than if you have commercially spun yarn. But I'll be creative, and what I will do is I will try. If you see the yarn, the shawl is very, very large, and what I will try, if I see that I don't have enough, I will just, instead of doing 3 layers of the lace here, I will do 2, and then I'll see how it goes, because I do want to make this shawl specifically. So I'm using the baby camel, and the baby camel doesn't have much elasticity, doesn't have memory, so that's a good yarn for shawls. It has drape because it doesn't have the elasticity. I'm still spinning it sort of long draw, and I'm going to do the 3-ply because I like 3-ply more. And this yarn, even though it has some lace, it is it is not all lace. So I'll see how it goes. So I'm spinning it more to woolen, also because the fiber is very, very small. So this is the staple of the fiber, very, very small. So this is the best one, like cotton, to do it long draw. And that's what I'm doing. Oops. So a lot of, I just have to put more twist and keep it going. So once I'm done with this, I have only 40 grams to spin. Then I will prepare it, I'll ply it, and I'll prepare it to dye. And when I'm dyeing, I'll film the dyeing too, at least a part of it, so that you see, because I'm looking for as homogeneous as possible my yarn in terms of color. So I'll talk to you later. Let's see. Bye-bye. Hi. So this part of the project is to ply the singles that I have spun. So as you can see, my lead is not tied up. I don't make a knot. What I do, as Sarah Anderson taught, I put it together and then I spin, and by spinning it, it will keep it there. And Judith Mackenzie, the way she says for you to get the ply is you put your hands like this and you put like this. And by doing this, you're automatically creating tension. My husband made me the Lazy Kate because I wanted one with 5 bobbins. And he did put a mechanism to tension, but I don't really use tension. I prefer to use my hands as tension. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So the beginning was there. And you want the twist to get into the yarn that you're making at the same time. So I'm holding the yarn separate here, and I'm keeping the twist separate, and I'm letting them enter together here. So you can always stop and check, but I look at it normally, and that if I am satisfied with what I see, that will create the, in a way, it creates a motion, memory motion. So that's what I do. So let's say I ran out of yarn, of singles, and I need to blend it together. So I'm going to cut here and use the same yarn. So what I'm going to do is put the new thread together in the middle, like this. And then I hold it for a while. Stretch it. I am sure you see that it's connected there. Now I'm getting, and you cannot see where it was attached. And then I go on as usual. So that's what I wanted to show you, is how I do the 3-ply. That is a video from Judith Mackenzie that taught me that, and it's pretty good. It helps you with the consistency, and the twist gets in once all together for all the yarns, and it's pretty easy to go. So next step will be dyeing. See you then. So I finished plying my spinning and plying my dark baby camel, and I'm ready to dye it now. The original pattern is asking for a dark brown, but I wanted a red instead, and I think it's going to be, because it's already a dark brown, I think the red is going to bring some reds to the color, and it's going to be nice. Baby camel and alpaca are camelids, and the thing is, sometimes some shades of the brown will not get color on it, but I'm hoping this will get some color. The other problem that I was having before is to calculate how much yardage I had here. And because it's so fine, my 3-ply, what was happening is that I couldn't get a measurement even with my little scale. So what I did with the brown one is I got my knit knotty and I counted each time I went through the beginning, and I got around 300 times this. So I measured, and this is 35 inches or almost 8 to 9 centimeters, that is almost a yard. And the whole, no, it's almost a yard, half of it. So it's 2 yards, the thing. And I have there almost 300. I'm going to take 30% off on my calculation just because it's going to shrink a little bit. But I think I'll be safe. At least I have an idea of, in terms of meters or yardage, what I have there. Normally, I would dye it, I would make a solution and then I would use a certain percentage and everything. But I have to confess I'm a little bit lazy today and I want more free spirit today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the dye directly and afterwards the citric acid. So my water was on the wood stove for a while. It's warm, it's not really hot, and this water is cold. But what makes a fiber felt is hot to cold and not cold to hot. But first of all, I'm going to put the dye in. So because it's in powder, I'm going to put my mask. And my gloves. And I don't need too much dye, and there's so much the formula the wool can assimilate or can get. So I'm going to use my smaller spoon just to take a little bit, put there, mix it all up, and then I'll put the fiber in. So I'm not putting any acid yet because I want the dye to get as smooth as possible to the fiber. Okay, so I'm looking there and it doesn't feel to me that I have enough color because my fiber is already dark. So this red is not giving, it gives a nice red, but it is too bright. So I'm gonna add this considerably. this is a lot of dye. Everything that I use here is just for dyeing. I don't use this stuff for cooking, okay? So even though this is really a lot of dyeing. It's giving me a red, but a very light red. But I will have this to absorb because honestly, I do think it's a lot of dye. And if at the point I don't think it's enough, I can always add more dye to the pot. And the thing that I'm going to do, let's take a little bit out here. I'm gonna let it absorb the dye for a while before I put the citric acid in it. I should have kept a little bit of the original color because I already see the color changing here. It's a nicer reddish brown. That is what I wanted. So the other important thing is that, I think I said it before, but you don't want dye going to your environment. So you want the dye to exhaust. And I put a lot of dye here. So if by the time I'm done with this yarn, I see that it's not absorbing any more dye, because I put a lot of dye here, I will get some fiber that I have and put in here to help exhaust the dye. So that there are two advantages of this. When you help exhaust the dye that you have in your pot, the first thing is that you're going to need less rinses to your yarn or to your fiber. And the less rinses you have, the less chances for it to felt. The more you rinse, inevitably, it's going to felt a little bit each time you are rinsing. So that helps with that. And the second good advantage is that it's less acid in the environment and it's good for the environment, okay? So I'm leaving the fiber here for a while just to naturally get as much as it can. I have a very thick yarn here because I don't like to mend when I'm knitting, so it is probably at least 200 grams of yarn in one skein. So I put the ties very loosely to do that. So just letting it cool down for a while. Not cool down, but give it a time to absorb. And then I will pull it out of the water and put the citric acid. And let's see how it's going to work. I'm moving to give it a chance to all the yarn to get the color in it. So I'm going to put this in the stove for a little bit just so that it warms up and helps the yarn absorb, and then I'll come back. I let the water on the stove for about 10 minutes. I still have a lot of dye here because I really put a lot of dye. And what I'm going to do is I already prepared some extra fiber, 100 grams of fiber to put there. And this fiber, if I don't like the color afterwards, I'm not going to put it now. I'm going to let it there for a longer time with the thing. But the fiber I can use to spin it as itself, or I can use to do my backs for sleepers. So I'm putting the water out because I want to have the powder, the citric acid, mixed here well, and then I'll put the fiber there because I want to be sure there's going to be citric acid, everything on the yarn. But the color, as you can see, has already changed, and it is a beautiful red brown. I honestly think that 1 spoon of that, I think this is 1 teaspoon, is good enough. If I don't think by the end of the time that it has absorbed, that the dye has not exhausted completely, even after I put that, then I can even add more. But for now, I'll do this. So the reason I took off, just repeating, took the fiber out of the pot is because I wanted to be able to mix the citric acid all over. The color is beautiful. It's really beautiful. I'll just put this back in. Now I'll leave the water there for at least 20 minutes and I'll check again. I love these little cups because I can check how much dye I still have left. And I'll leave there. I won't let it boil because you should not let your fiber boil. But I'll leave it there until I'm ready. So I'll see you soon. So my wood stove had a very low heat because we didn't put more wood there and it's not that cold. I checked the water like 10 minutes after and it was almost clear. And I decided just to fasten up, I decided to put 40 grams only instead of the 100 grams of an extra fiber to help absorb the rest of the dye. And as you can see, not much was left for the fiber. I'm gonna let it cool down, and by tomorrow I will wash it with a little dish soap and rinse it. But the color is beautiful. I'll just let it cool down here, and tomorrow I'll rinse and I'll be ready to work with it. So that's the end of the dyeing part. Hope you like it. Okay, so when I did the second part, when I'm doing now the second part of the shawl, it's creating this bump instead of going smooth as the other side. So if you look at the other side, it went very smooth. This is this part here. And here, it's creating this thing. So I had undone and did this, but maybe it was on this part of the pattern that I forgot to decrease, or that, yeah, but the normally thing is that this part of the pattern is to increase. So I think I will undo it and start here again just to see if it will get better. If it doesn't, the other solution that I'm finding, because it really makes a bump there that should not be. The second part is a little bit creating a little bit more bumps than the first part. The first part is just perfect. It's very straight. Also, because I'm running the thread through, I think at the end after a block, or when I'm before a block, I'm not quite sure yet, I'm going to do a row of crochet around just to do a finishing. What I wanted to say here too is that one good thing to do lace is to use markers. So I use markers all over. Each repeat I have a marker, and this helps a lot because I can find the problems easily. Like when I'm doing this part, I don't have to focus so much on the pattern. So I just go, and I found that I had forgot to yarn over here, so I could fix it easily, even though it was 4 rows underneath. So if you like it, go ahead. The pattern is very, very easy. And I will show you. I'll come back to you later on when I'm done. Okay, so I finished the shawl, and now I'm going to just block it. So if you look here, you can see the difference of a part that is blocked. You see much better the holes, and then you can see the part that is not blocked yet. Some people wash and then put wires to keep it in place. I don't like to do that. You can get a wet towel, put on top, and then put your iron and do like this. I do have a steamer, so I prefer to just go and steam it. And I like to do both sides. It feels to me that it gives me a better definition. So I'll put the other side in. Oops. And do it again. And it's done. So let me just turn this off. Okay, so the shawl is done. So you could have washed it and blocked it, or you just do what I did. I do love, this is the wrong side. It's asymmetrical, what I think is interesting for me. And you can just wear it, like if it's cold, you can cover your whole shoulders with it. Right? Or if you want just something to show, you can kind of fold it and have it together. And you can look at the magazine for other ways to put it on. But I think it's pretty nice. I really love the shawl. Now I have some things I would like to say. I discovered what was the problem with that part in the video that you showed before. It is that the pattern inverted the lace graphic diagram, but it didn't invert the first lines or the first part of the pattern. So I had to change it. When I was doing the other side, every row I had to decrease first and increase last. And by doing that, I was able to get it okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that I made some decisions for my shawl. Because it has lace in it, I could have gone for a worsted yarn and I would have more stitch definition that is good for laces. But because it's a shawl, and because I had that baby camel that I wanted to wear, the baby camel is a short fiber. So normally you use a short fiber, you do a long draw, and that's a woolen draw. But the other thing is that normally, because the baby camel does not have memory, it's going to have more drape. That is good for a shawl. So even though maybe the stitch definition is not that great on the lace pattern. I think overall I do like the final effect of the shawl. So it's very easy. I think the pattern just at the end, it was missing for them to inform that you should change the things. And also they kept saying go to line 53, but you didn't have a line 53 because line 60 or was repeat line this and this. So that part of the pattern was a little bit annoying. But the shawl is very easy. I did it in 2 weeks. Could have done a little bit faster if it was not too hot. We had a heat wave and I couldn't knit it. So it's easy. It's easy to remember, easy to do. I hope you enjoy and have fun if you decide to do it. Thank you. Until next time. Bye.
Isso aqui, oh, é pouquinho de Brasil, ia, ia.